everyone. Welcome to another section. Our next speaker is Mr. Tamas Szeker. Yeah. Mr. Tamas is based in Barcelona. Yeah, Spain. He's coming from Spain. High Scale Hub. Yeah. Mr. Tamas is a Barcelona-based international business development strategist and a startup enthusiast who is passionate about working with game-changing companies and helping them shape a better future. He is a co-founder and business growth partner at a global innovation platform, iScale Hub, facilitating the international expansion, fundraising, business development, efforts, ambitious scale-ups globally. In his career so far, Tamas has lived and got to know various entrepreneurial best practices and cultural viewpoints in 6 different countries across the continent: Hungary, France, South Korea, Malaysia, Colombia, and Spain. Discovered about 10 plus ecosystems globally and supported the growth of several startups, incubators, accelerators, VCs, innovation consulting firms. He holds MA in business development, specialized in entrepreneurship, startups, innovation, and also an award-winning ambassador at the South Europe Startup Awards and a member of Levels Up Ventures and TEDx Barcelona. So we have a very great speaker here. Kindly pick your notebooks, get a pen, and make sure you take some things down, record. Like if you have any questions, listen in at the end of the section. He will open up so that you ask questions pertaining to the presentation that he presented. Yeah. So, Mr. Thomas, the floor is yours. Welcome on board.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation and also for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Tamas Szeker, and today I believe I'm going to share some very interesting, I think, viewpoints with you with regard to B2B sales prospecting. Let me also just share my screen with you so you'll be able to see my screen. All right. So yeah, as I mentioned, today we're going to discuss B2B sales and B2B sales prospecting. With specific regards on, I'd like to provide you with some practical guidance on how you can optimize your B2B sales prospecting strategy and also how you can improve on it so that you can find and convert more B2B clients. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Tamas Szeker. I'm the co-founder and business growth partner of iScale Hub. We are basically an international startup growth catalyst that helps ambitious startups to scale and succeed globally and to enter different foreign markets in a prepared and profitable way. We do this by providing them with individual advisory and also with bespoke international market entry programs. As mentioned, we've basically, together with my business partner, we've lived in 9 different countries across 3 continents. We've also discovered more than 15 startup ecosystems. We supported more than 500 startups in different sectors and geographies globally. And we've also worked and have a network of more than 250 investors and accelerators. In today's session, with iScale Hub, we actually pretty much focused on business development, besides international expansion and fundraising. And when working together with startups, many times I see that they have different challenges with regard to approaching new clients, and also they use lead generation and sales prospecting interchangeably. But what are the key differences between lead generation and sales prospecting? Lead generation is basically something which is led by the marketing department, and how we define leads. These are companies or individuals that have already shown some interest in your products or services or in your company. So basically, they've already visited your website, they clicked on the link, they maybe subscribed for a newsletter. So these are the ones that we call leads. While sales prospecting is something which is led by the sales department, by the sales team, and how we define prospects. These people or companies might not necessarily know about your company and your services or products, for example, but you as a company and the sales team, you basically identify, you define the ideal customers and also the best individuals and companies who could be the right fit for what you're offering. So sales prospecting is basically a set of actions aimed at initiating new business opportunities by continuously identifying new potential customers and nurturing them until they get to the stage where you can close them and convert them as customers. But sales prospecting as such is actually not easy. It could be super challenging for many companies. And also, according to statistics, most sales people, 40% of sales representatives says that 40% that sales prospecting is actually the most challenging part of the whole sales process, which is followed by closing and also qualification. When working with startups, I realized that some of these challenges include the lack of prospecting motivation. So the salespeople don't spend enough time and energy on sales prospecting, and it also could be pretty demotivating when you can't perform and you can't reach the targets and KPIs. I believe one of the key challenges of unproductive sales prospecting is the poor targeting, not understanding who your ideal customers are. So you can't find the ideal decision maker, for example. So poor targeting, according to statistics, 50% of the prospects that you are chasing, they will actually never convert because they are not ideal for what you're offering. Also, the insufficient outreach and sales people give up too early. This is also an issue. Basically, 70% of salespeople never follow up on email, while if you just follow up once, a prospect, you will have 20% more chance to convert them as a client. And also the lack of research before you reach out to a client, and also the lack of customization, personalization, and customization versus automation, how you can optimize these kind of processes. So these are all the key challenges that I've met when working with startups. So how can we be successful? How can we optimize and improve these processes? When I work with startups, when I also do sales prospecting by myself and I do the execution, I define 5 different steps that I do in order to produce high conversion rates. We start first with the identification of the right client, which is continued by finding the ideal point of contact. Then we find the email addresses. Then we write the cold emails. And after that, we do the follow-up emails. And I continuously analyze and try to optimize and improve all these processes so that we can make sure that that the prospect actually will convert and we can move them from one stage of the sales prospecting, from the sales process to another. Let's get started with the first one, with the identification of the right clients. And here, before actually you reach out to any kind of clients in a cold way, what I suggest to you is the following. If you already have clients, try to turn them to be part of your sales force. This is the best strategy that you can do. If they are happy, they will actually be happy. I mean, if they're happy with your service, they will be happy to give you testimonials. They will be happy to give you referrals, to make warm introductions to any kind of companies, basically. 90% of your clients would actually be super willing and open to give you testimonials and referrals, but most salespeople don't even ask for it. So you should do that. Also, another thing, if you work together with international clients, I highly suggest you to ask for warm introductions to the other operations in other countries, because if you already have a success story in one certain country, you can very easily onboard the new operations as well as part of one certain company. But of course, if you want to do further outreach, we really need to identify who the ideal customer is. And what I suggest you is to use different metrics. Try to think about the company type, the country, the sector, the industry itself, the annual revenue of the company, the total funding raised, if you are talking about startups, for example, or the technology readiness level, for example, employee count, etc., etc. So try to come up with metrics and define your ideal customer. You can also check that what about the behavioral patterns and also the preferences, and compare them to your existing customers. I also suggest you to use the band qualification tool. Super interesting tool to qualify your prospects and also your leads. B is for budget, A is for authority, N is for time, and N is for need, and T is for time. And how I use it, before I basically build my list, I try to follow influencers and key decision makers in certain companies that are my ideal customers, and get informed, get updated about what's up, what's happening in the company, what are they achieving, what are their goals, objectives, what they need, so that I can just immediately reach out to the decision maker on LinkedIn, for example, or on Twitter, for example, if I see that they have a need and my solution could be timely for them. And of course, there's many, many lists and platforms that you can use in order to find the right clients. For example, when I reached out to Fortune 500, Global 500 companies, I used the Fortune list. You can very easily filter for, let's say, financial companies, or filter based on revenue, employee count, etc., etc. But I also use Apollo.io, amazing platform again, to look for companies, and let's say we set the keywords and the location, the industry, and you can find a lot of companies here that can help you to build your list. I also use Crunchbase. I also use Dealroom.co. So you have countless of options to find and identify and build a list of relevant companies. The second step is the following. So once you have the companies listed, we need to find the ideal point of contacts. And as I mentioned to you, in many cases, actually in most cases, why the sales prospecting is unproductive, it is because of the lack of understanding. The lack of understanding of your prospects, of your best buyer. So this is what you need to do. You need to understand who will be the key decision maker, what will be the role and the job title. So what I suggest you is to build user persona types. What are the demographics details? What are the goals, the KPIs of these people, the frustrations, motivations, preferred channels? And you can also tailor the value proposition when you reach out to these individuals accordingly. So it's very important to do this. Try to avoid gatekeepers and try to go for manager level point of contacts. Of course, when it comes to finding relevant individuals, LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Navigator as such could be amazing platforms. If you just use simple LinkedIn, I suggest you to use the Boolean search, which will help you to define, broaden, or limit your search and your results by using or, and, not. So this is how, for example, I find my co-founder or founder at iScale Hub in the United Kingdom, and we found Gulyás Gergő. I also love using Apollo.io in order to find the relevant decision makers. And you have two options here. You either go and look for the company itself, like iScale Hub, and then find the relevant decision maker, or you go to search, find people, and I just set the criteria, the job titles, co-founder, company, iScale Hub, and location, London, for example. And here we go. I found Gergő, who is the co-founder of iScale Hub, together with LinkedIn profile and also some contact details. So very easy to find basically any kind of decision makers in any platforms. Step number 3, finding the email addresses of the point of contacts. And here is one thing. Many companies just send emails to info@domainname.com. Try to avoid this because you want to reach out to the key decision maker. This is how you will increase the response rates. This is how you will increase the conversion rates. And we have to provide these decision makers with the relevant information about who you are and what you are offering. So how are you going to find the email addresses? It's actually very easy. And I can find any one of your email addresses by using any of these platforms. Some of these platforms, they have a freemium model, some have premium model, but it's up to you, like what you want to use, which platform do you want to use, basically. For example, if you are on Apollo, if I go to Gergő's profile and I just click on access email address, I immediately got gergő@iScaleHub.com. And if you see that it's green, it's also green here, which means that it's a verified email. So it's working. Gergő will receive my message. You can also have a Chrome extension of Apollo. So if I go to Gergő's LinkedIn profile, and if it's activated, I can immediately get his email address again, which is green, so verified. Gergő will receive the email. So perfect. So this is how I build up my list of point of contacts with their email addresses. And you can also use other platforms like Overlook, for example, to do automatic search of email addresses if you have a couple of credits there. I also like using emailchecker.net. Again, if you have an email address, you can put it here, check, the result is okay, the email address is valid. If you don't find email addresses publicly, what I suggest to do is the following: use different variations that you can test. For example, at small size companies, startups, first name at companyname.com. This is something that works pretty much. large companies, first name dot last name at companyname.com. And you can always check it here, whether it's valid or not, and you can build your list accordingly. The next step is how you can write an effective cold email after you have all this information of your best buyers, basically. This is an example of an email, of a cold email that I normally send out for one of my clients. There are no blueprints, of course. You can have many suggestions on the internet coming from sales experts, for example. What works well for me, for example, this kind of cold email generated me 80% open rates and ran between 30 and 50% response rates. So it's something which works very well. Some takeaways from here is that I always start with a hook. So for example, I believe that you could be a good candidate for a funding program, or try to find, let's say, a personal touch, refer to an article, a social media post that this prospect wrote, something like that. Then I clearly state why I'm reaching out and how I can create value for the organization. Then I also use some traction. So our company, we've raised more than almost 60 million from EU funds, for example. We've worked with these many companies, for example. You can even put names there. And instead of asking for their time at the end, I ask for their interest and attention by asking a question: do you think actually I can contribute to your fundraising goals? Because I can send you a free material, a free educational material to help you to learn more about this space. I want to help you. And this is also a hook which will make them to reply back to me. Or if not, I can just send a second message and send them basically the report in this second message. What I also suggest you to do is to use different automation platforms. That could be HubSpot, Freshworks. In this case, I'm using Overlook, for example, where you can automate the whole sales prospecting process by creating email sequences. And you can basically add automatically many prospects. And this will change the prospect name, the company name, etc. And the program will also send out follow-up emails. So you don't have to do anything manually, and it will save such a lot of time for you when you do sales prospecting. With these kind of platforms, you can also check the email performance. For example, with this specific case, I had around 82% open rates and more than 22% click rate and reply rate, which is pretty good. And I can also, if I click on opens and clicks, I can see the individuals who, as part of one batch, how many times one certain person clicked on my email, opened my email, clicked on the link, replied. And for example, if this guy haven't got back to me yet, but I saw that opened my message 24 times and clicked on the link 3 times, I can maybe send them a LinkedIn connection request, give them a call, or connect them on other platforms, or maybe send them a more personalized follow-up email. And last but not least, the follow-up email. Actually, interestingly, as I mentioned, and this is also a big issue when it comes to sales prospecting, 70% of salespeople, according to statistics, they never follow up the email, the first email. But if you just follow up once, you will have 20% more chance to hear back from the prospect. So what I suggest to you is the following. Give at least 2-3 days for the prospect to read your message and to reply back to it before you send the first follow-up message. The best time to follow up is Tuesday and Thursday, according to statistics, especially between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. In the prospect's time zone. And I recommend to send at least 5 follow-up emails after your cold email, giving the prospect more and more time that will bring you results and higher conversion rates. What to write in the follow-up email? What about the content and the email and the follow-up email copy? The idea is here to provide the prospect each and every time with value. Try to focus on your prospect and think about what's in it for the prospect to associate with you. Tell them more about your value proposition. And in the B2B space, the idea is that we need to build credibility and rapport with the prospect, because they make decisions, they make rational decisions, right? Not less emotional decisions. So in order to do that, in each and every follow-up email, we need to send them maybe a valuable resource, free white papers, for example, webinar invite, an interesting blog article, for example. You can also share social proof, success stories, testimonials, that you've already had different success cases with other clients, similar clients actually. this will help them to reply back to you. And last but not least, this is something that I'm also using, and this is my last email, actually. My 6th email is the breakup email, because as you remember, the band qualification tool, sometimes it's just not timely for them, or they don't have a need for it, for my service at the moment. And I want to emphasize with them, and I'm telling them that, hey, I'm going to stop because I assume it's not a priority for you at the moment. I'm going to stop. I don't want to flood your inbox anymore. And I completely understand that it's not a priority for you, but I'm happy to get back to you, let's say in 6 months' time, and see if our goals are more aligned. And this email actually can make wonders, because many companies after this email get back to me that, hey, sorry, I was busy. Let's have a call next week. Or could you please follow up in 1 month, please, because it's not timely for us. At least you will hear back from the prospects. So these are some of the tips and tricks on how you can optimize and improve your sales prospecting strategy focused on certain steps of the sales prospecting. I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those questions. Happy to connect also on LinkedIn, and also have a chat if you have further questions, or if you'd like to discuss your challenges in B2B sales. Thank you very much. So I see that we have a question. How is the best means of approaching customers? Thank you for the question. Do you specifically mean like tools or ways of approaching customers? Because with regard to tools, these are like some of the tools that I mentioned to you, like Overloop, for example. You can also use HubSpot. So if you want to automate your outreach, I love using HubSpot. If you are part of accelerator programs, or if you work together with consultants, they have perks. We also have perks at iScale Hub, and you can use HubSpot for free, or Freshworks for free, for example, or Overloop, for example, for like many months, many years, actually. And you can automate the whole sales prospecting strategy in that sense. With regard to, so these are like some of the tools of how you can approach customers. Some people also do cold calling. I personally avoid cold calling. I first send them an email and then check the email performance. If they actually go back and open my email many times and click on the links, I can just give them a call, because they won't tell to me that, they won't say that, hey, could you please send me an email? I've already sent the email, so I can get an instant feedback from these prospects. I wonder that if this question was specific or some other things, I'm happy to clarify, elaborate more on this.